Hey guys, the Super Review Show for another My Thoughts on Video. I have not done one of these in a hot minute. But here we are today talking about, as the title of this video suggests, this is my thoughts on TV show revivals and reboots. Now, for those of you who have followed us for any period of time on Mixed Bag or on this YouTube channel in general, I'm a big fan of Frasier. Over the course of 2022, before the 2023 premiere of the new Frasier series, reboot, I'll get to that in a second, that show was a revival of the 1993 to 2004 sitcom Frasier, starring Kelsey Grammer and taking place with later years in life and whatnot too. But it was when they first announced it, I'm like, why are they calling it a reboot? How can you reboot a spinoff? Because let's not forget, Frasier was a spinoff of Cheers way back then in the 80s. So do the math there for a second. So all those fans of Cheers then followed Frasier along too, just because it was a spinoff of Cheers. Boston to Seattle, now back to Boston. In the Frasier revival. Now, I'm not opposed to TV show revivals. There's been a few of them over the years. I just mentioned Frasier. The X-Files had two of them in 2016 and 2018. Very limited run, though. One was 6 episodes, one was 10 episodes. Or I think it was 8, actually, not a second. 6 and then 8 episodes of The X-Files. From 2016 to 2018, they brought it back twice. Those revivals were really good. There was a couple of really good episodes actually in that X-Files revival, like the where Mulder and Scully meet the Wereman or the Wolfman or whatever it was. I forget the specific name of the episode, but if you know what I'm talking about, good for you. I thought that the revival was actually pretty darn good. Did it have its highs and lows? Of course, every show has highs and lows, of course. Were the highs more than the lows? I'd say so. For those X-Files revivals, I'd say they were actually pretty high up, truthfully. There was talk at one point of a Seinfeld revival. Because Jerry was actually on tour recently. I think it was in Vegas or something like that. I forget, it was sometime last year, or like October, November of 2023 when this came out. When he said, basically someone, hey, would you ever want to revisit Seinfeld? And he said, actually, it's funny you say that. Because if you've seen Jerry Seinfeld live as a comedian, I have, he takes questions at the end of his show and says, hey, and a lot of people ask him about his TV show, Seinfeld. He said, me and Larry David are working on doing a Seinfeld, something about that finale. Because let's face it, the Seinfeld finale, as much as I enjoyed it, not everyone did. I enjoyed it, me personally. Looking back at it, like when I was younger, I was like, oh, it's the ending of Seinfeld. Like I thought it was good at the time. The more I look back on it, it doesn't really hold up as well as I thought it was going to. Because spoilers, sorry, if you haven't seen the show, it's one of the greatest shows of all time. But basically, Seinfeld ends with the 4 of them going to jail. You could go watch the whole series, and there are so many phenomenal quotes and episodes from that one show alone. Get to know it. It's great if you've never seen it. But they're talking about reviving it at one point or another, and Seinfeld and Larry David were talking about it together. So there could be a Seinfeld revival at some point. Personally, and this is why I'm sharing my thoughts on this, there are some things, in my humble opinion and my thoughts, that I think you can go back and revisit. Like Frasier, when I was like, how can you reboot a spinoff? They did it well. They actually made it a revival, not a reboot, not a restart of the story, but a revival of the story of Frasier Crane. And it picked up right where it would have, right where you thought it would have picked up on. If you've seen it on Paramount Plus, good for you. But the X-Files is another example. Will and Grace is another example of that. Will and Grace, I have not seen Will and Grace, but I know they brought it back at one point. That's another example of this. So, do I think it depends on the show and depends on when it aired and when it how the series finale ended, in my opinion. Because I'm going to be honest with you guys, Seinfeld was a great product of its time in the 1990s. From 1989 to 1998, 9 years it changed television history forever. But do we need to revisit? To be honest, I don't think Jerry, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Jason Alexander, and Michael Richards want to come back as those characters at all. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I think they're smooching off their millions of dollars by just sitting at home doing nothing because they were already on the show. So why would you want to bring back, like, for one season, like the true ending? Oh, they're out of jail now, whatever. Because if you've seen the series finale of Seinfeld, they end, and they say, we'll be back in a year. We'll be back at some point. We'll be out of jail by then. And that's that. And actually, truthfully, one thing about Seinfeld, it did come full circle to an extent. Because out of all the conversations of Seinfeld, the very first lines of the pilot, the very, very, very first lines, that button's in the worst possible spot on your shirt. It's a no man's land. Look at that. You really, and the very last lines of the episode, of the series finale, was, that button's in the worst possible spot. It's kind of doing what, like, many other shows have done, but other shows have done it better, in my opinion. Like, The Office's series finale was great. I'll get to that in a second, too. But, like, I don't know. It depends on the show, and it depends on how popular the show was or how the series finale ended, truthfully. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say about this, too. But, like, before I end this video really quick, but The Office is another example of this. There's talk of an Office reboot. Again, I don't think it'll be a reboot. I think they're just going to say, hey, we're going to bring back Steve Carell and John Krasinski and all of them back, honestly. I don't know if they're going to actually do a full-on reboot and retelling of The Office. Because, let's face it, The Office is way more popular than it was when it aired on TV on NBC. Because the show is just aired perfectly, and it's a timeless show. It's just people being idiots on camera. That's what YouTube is now. You know what I mean? Just saying. I'm not saying I'm an idiot, but you know what I'm saying. I digress, though. So I think ultimately it depends on the show, the popularity, and how the series ended initially. Like, certain shows like Star Trek, they could just revive that and tell different stories. However, Star Wars, they could do different things too. That's more sci-fi. I'm just talking about generic shows like The X-Files or like Seinfeld, like 90s rom-coms, whatever. Anyways, I digress. What do you think about this? Am I crazy for thinking that, am I right or wrong? What do you think out there? Because I'm wondering what you have to say about this because of how TV show revivals are being brought back more. Will and Grace, Frasier, The X-Files. Will we see more of them in the future or will we see less of them in the future? Please let me know what you guys are thinking about there in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys have to say about this. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and don't forget to smash that like button and follow us on our social media pages as well, Facebook and Instagram, simply at The Super Review Show. But for all of my thoughts on videos and many more, keep it locked on The Super Review Show, the J-Man. Stuff's rock. We'll see you guys later.